Good morning, everybody. Travels with Dottie. Today is the 9th of August, 2025. Close to the third of the way through August already, which is hard to believe. And it's Saturday. I finished my morning sessions, and I'm on my way at 10:15 in the morning to my job, my volunteer job at the museum. Dottie's with me, and oh, this is not clicked on. There, that's straighter, isn't it? So we're sneaking out here to the museum, and I'll be doing some kind of video today. And I can tell you right now, I have no clue what it's going to be about. I don't think I'll stand in the museum and yammer on about working in the museum. Those videos pretty much fall flat on their face. But I will remind you that for the rest of the summer, if you want to meet me and Dottie and you're in the area, come to the Eagle Nest Visitor Center and Museum. It's you can't miss it. It's right on the main drag, right on the edge of town. It's a log cabin looking thing. You really can't miss it. And if you miss it, ask anybody and they'll tell you where it is. Dottie and I will be there every Saturday between 12 and 4 is really good odds that you're gonna catch us. And I have the world's most beautiful, shortest commute here. That's interesting that my radio head didn't come on. That's happened a couple of times where it just did not come on. And it seems to resolve itself, but it's a black screen. Like my GPS is a black screen. None of my screens are working in my car. All the Garmin's coming on, but not the Android. That's fascinating. Isn't that something fascinating that you want to hear about? So I am pulling up to the museum here. I'm going to be the guy to open it up. And one of the first things that I have to do here is I have to stop and put our sandwich sign up that we're open. So hang on, we will do that, and you can watch me do that. There, I think. Hold on. I did it. All right. So we'll park right out front here. And yes, here I am. I did figure out what to do a video on today. And it's on, if you're going to do this lifestyle, I get a lot of questions on addresses, domiciles, lots of questions. So I'm going to go ahead and try to answer a lot of those questions. And there is your legal domicile versus your mailing address. And those can be the same thing or they can be two very different things. A domicile is your official legal residence for tax, voting, insurance, and legal purposes. And every state has rules for what you need to do to establish yourself as a resident of the state. To get like a driver's license, register your vehicles, and register to vote. A mailing address is where your mail is delivered. You can use a mail service really anywhere. And mail services are plentiful throughout the United States. If you don't have a piece of land that you have or a place that's semi-permanent, you'll need to probably domicile in a state that recognizes these mail forwarding services as legal residences. Right now, Texas, Florida, and South Dakota are popular states for that. And there are, I think I have some listed here. Escapees RV Club does it for Texas, Florida, and South Dakota. America's Mailbox in South Dakota, and St. Brendan's Isle in Florida. I've not heard of that one before. So you may want to consider that. And there are other considerations, which I'll talk about now. State-specific things like income tax. States like Texas, Florida, and South Dakota, even Nevada, they don't have income taxes. Other states may have income taxes. There may be differences on whether Social Security is taxed at varying levels in certain states. Vehicle registration and inspection rules. If you register your vehicle somewhere in a state and it requires inspections every year, you got to think, I need to go back to that place every year. Is that going to be convenient or not? And insurance rates. Insurance rates will vary by quite a bit by state and within a state, right? You need to check on what rates are, where you're going to establish that address. And the other thing to consider is that insurance companies are going to want to know where that car is parked full time. And if you're giving them an address for a mail service where your car is never there, and I think, now I'm not an expert, I'm not a lawyer, I don't have direct experience, so file this under Rob's opinion. I think that if you represent to the insurance company that my car is parked at this address, you have a big claim, say your car gets totaled, and somehow they find out that, nope, he doesn't ever park his car there, then they could, I would think, invalidate your claim in your policy. You can end up taking a big loss. I would be very careful with that. So if you're wondering what I do, I own a property in southeastern New Mexico, and I'm there at least twice a year for extended periods, and that's where my vehicle is parked. I can prove that's not a problem for me. Let's see. Insurance rates in general by state, not only auto insurance rates, but more importantly, health insurance rates. Even if you're on Medicare, if you decide to get like an Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement, those are all by state and by specific location in the state. And those rates can vary substantially. Also, if you get, this isn't going to be a video about Medicare options, but if you get one of those Advantage plans that say, oh, we're going to give you all this free stuff and it's $0 a month, many of them have plans that are locked to a location and locked to specific providers. So if you get one of those in South Dakota and you're spending most of your time in Arizona, in California, and you get sick, you either have to travel back to South Dakota or you have to deal with all the very potentially expensive thing of being out of network. So keep that in mind. If homeschooling laws, There's no national homeschooling laws, but there's state ones. So if you're established, your domicile in a particular state, you have to follow those homeschooling laws. I don't know a lot of details about that. So if you do know details about that, please put it in the comments. Estate and inheritance tax, some states have it, some states don't. And jury duty rules. Just because I have my address and my domicile in South Dakota, I'm never there, do I still have to show up for jury duty? Probably, yes. Is it easy to get excused from jury duty? Who knows? You need to find out. You need to find out. Banking, having a bank account. No, I have had friends that have had very difficult problems with banking once they found out that the person doesn't have a permanent legal address, that they're using a mail service. You could lose your ability to have that bank account. They're not going to take the money from you, but they're not going to engage you. You have to get your money out someplace else that'll deal with you. Many banks require a physical address, even if your mailing address is different. Some will accept a mail forwarding address if you explain your nomadic lifestyle. So it's very bank dependent, but be sure you don't want to lose your ability to do banking on the road unexpectedly. And you're going to want to do, there's hardly any banks that don't have a huge, robust online banking capability. And you do want to be careful with that. You want to have multi-layers of security. If you're going to do all your banking online, you want to make sure that there's not a way for someone to sneak in and steal your money from you. We talked about health insurance. There's some states like South Dakota have fewer in-network providers nationwide. So if you have a state where there's less choices, then if you're pulling it like a Medigap or a Medicare Advantage, if there's a state with less choices, there's less flexibility and maybe a higher cost because there's less competition. Auto RV insurance, I'm very open with especially my trailer insurance to say, look, I have a permanent address here, but I travel 9 months out of the year. I want that on record. This is the lifestyle that I'm making. So I don't want them to be able to come back and say, hey, you're not really being honest with how much you're using your RV or where you're going to be. Voter registration. Once you establish your domicile, meet all the requirements for voter registration, you probably want to make sure there's a robust way to get absentee ballots done. That's important if voting is important to you and you don't want to have to show up in the state if it's inconvenient. The same way, your driver's license. How often do I need to renew? Can I renew by mail or do I have to be in person? And the wills that you do in estate planning are all going to be under the guidelines and laws that the state that you decide you're going to be a resident of. A little bit about taxes. I wouldn't be fooled in thinking the end and end all of making this decision is I got to have a state with no income taxes. Well, states with no income taxes have other ways of getting income, of taxing income. And one of the ways, my first residence was Nevada, Pahrump, Nevada, and I was really happy that there's going to be no state income tax. But then I went to register my vehicles, and the taxes, the local taxes associated with registering my vehicles were way more than I expected. It was over $1,000 for my little car, my little trailer. I was really surprised. I've moved to New Mexico. There's a small state income tax, but registering the vehicles was like under $100. So there's pluses and minuses there. Pay attention. And someone said, oh, you made a bad decision. You're taking Social Security, and they tax Social Security in New Mexico. True. However, there's an income limit. If you make over $100,000 a year, yeah, there's tax on your Social Security. Less than $100,000 a year, and trust me, that's me, no tax on Social Security. So make sure you know the details on taxes. And some states require filing even for income taxes. If it's an income tax state, even if you're out of the state, it requires you to file in the state. Keep in mind. Other practical considerations. I've talked about medical care access, that if you pick a localized insurance company where you need to be local to be in network, pay attention to that. It removes flexibility. And as a nomad, you need that flexibility. And the older you are, the more you're going to need that. This is why I've made, I pay a lot of money a month for my Medicare, because I have my base Medicare that's, whereas I think it's $178 a month for just plain Medicare. And then I pay another $157 for Plan G, which is the Cadillac supplement plan, and another $89 a month for my medications, because I have a very expensive medication that if I had to pay out of pocket for, it would be $1,200 a month. So I add all that together, and I can get care from any Medicare provider in the whole country. There's no such thing as being out of network. If they take Medicare, they have to take me, and my total out of pocket every year is $257. So it's peace of mind. A little money out of pocket, but it's peace of mind, and I don't have to worry about where I am. In addition to that, if for some reason that I have to get airlifted somewhere and Medicare has a problem paying the bill or something like that, it's just a little extra thing that I have for $78 a month, and it's called AirMed Medicare. And I'm going to try to find, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm going to find the card I have for it. Here it is. It's called AirMed Medicare. And see, there's a little map right there, and each of those blue dots represents AirMed services that are in network with them. And you can see there's a little cluster of where I spend time, and you can go online and put in your zip code and make sure. I'm sure that I'm covered in Quartzsite, in Artesia, and up here in Eagle Nest. I'm covered by that in case, because these AirMed trips can be anywhere from $10,000 to $90,000, depending on where you're going, who it is, what the interventions are. So I'm covered for $79 a year. And hopefully I didn't say a month before. I've said that before by accident. It's $79 a year. The other things you want to talk, I've talked about this once, it's with reporting jury duty. What's the requirement? How easy is it to get excused from jury duty if you're not in town? That kind of thing. And firearms law. If firearms are important to you, what are the laws there pertaining to it? If you need to get a concealed carry permit, what does it take to do that? And what's the reciprocity with other states? In homestead exemptions, and if you decide in your home state that I am going to buy a piece of property, what are the rules and exemptions, homeowners exemptions, and things like that? So that is a real broad overview of the various ways that you can do domicile, mailing address. I'm the most comfortable with what I'm doing because I have a hard physical address where I absolutely park my rig a significant portion of the year. And it's a piece of property that, when I say own, I don't have title to it, but I have an arrangement where I pay a sort of a lifetime lease kind of thing. And it's as good as owning it, and I don't have to worry about my banking. I don't have to worry about any technicalities with either my banking or my insurance company, so I'm perfectly comfortable. There are people that do just fine. that use the escapees in Texas and Florida. They do the thing in South Dakota, and they go through their entire nomad existence without having an issue. But with that kind of thing, I'm a little risk adverse personally. And so I err on the side of caution. One thing I did of interest what I did in Pahrump, Nevada was for just, I think it cost me $2,600 or $2,700. I bought into an organization, an RV park in Pahrump called Preferred RV Resort. It's a member-owned RV resort. It doesn't get you a specific spot. It gets you the right to, for including utilities, like $500 some odd a month to park there up to 9 months of the year. And then you got to be out for 3 months and you come back in for another 9 months. And so it cost me for that membership like $2,600. And then it was like $300 fee per year to pay the association. And what actually happens when you do all the paperwork and everything and sign everything, the county sends you a deed. It says you actually own 1/2,200. That's the fractional ownership you have of the business and the real estate. So it gives you a deed. So no one can say I don't own property. I don't now because I sold it, but I owned property in Pahrump, so I felt really good about that. It's even better now that I have a specific plot and space. So anyway, I felt pretty good about that. But technically, what you could do is you could go to Pahrump, stay in any RV park for 30 days, and boom, you get your driver's license, you register your car, you register to vote, you use a local mail service, and boom, you're good to go. That's until someone finds out you don't really live at that RV park anymore. You were just there for 30 days, and you don't really have a place where you're living. And I did, okay, this is secondhand. I did hear about someone that happened to them, and they had all kinds of banking and insurance problems. So be careful when you're doing this. If you can afford it, and consult with an attorney, and good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. I'll see you all tomorrow.